Hello BookTube, it's Mike from Riff Raff's Reading Renaissance, and we're heading into week 3 of Garb August. The theme of week 3 is cozy trash, and therefore that's affected the books that I've selected to talk about this week. One of the themes on the bingo card was cozy cat books, and I'm not really a cat person, I'm more a dog person, as you know from the travails of Layla. But I thought, let me make an effort. So I nosed around our local charity shop and animal shelter bookshops to see if I could find something cat related. When I arrived at the bookshop, there was a sign. So I knew I was in luck, and I went inside, and in fact I found 2 cat books. So I'm going to tell you about both of them. One is a charming children's book called The Cat Chronicles, and it's a lovely construction of one cat with 9 adventurous lives, each lived in a different time and place throughout history. This is obviously a children's book aimed at young readers. The contents page covers the 9 lives of the cat in a beautiful way. The first life is the architect's cat, set in Egypt. The second life is a monk's cat, where the cat is rescued from a fire in a monastery. The third one is the witch's cat, set in the 16th century, which was not a good time to be a black cat, what with witch trials and being burned at the stake, etc. The fourth life is the carpet maker's cat. This is set in the Middle East, and the cat ends up working with a carpet maker who works for the Supreme Sultan. And then the fifth life is the beckoning cat, which is a tale from ancient Japan. The sixth life is the thief's cat, set in London, in the times when convicts were transported to Australia, and the cat goes with the convict and discovers a whole new world out there. The seventh life is the artist's cat, based in Paris in the Moulin Rouge. The eighth life is the movie cat in Hollywood. And the ninth life is the literary cat, which rather cutely ends up helping his owner, the author, to actually write his stories, which make up the book. The other thing that's worth mentioning about this book is the absolutely beautiful illustrations. If you look at the kind of things that you'll find here, I'm just sort of opening to a few examples. Incredibly beautiful illustrations. So anyone who has a hankering after cats, or even any young reader, I think this certainly qualifies as a cozy cat book. And just as a quick aside, I would like to dedicate this book particularly to the one and only Steve Donahue, because we all know how fond he is of our feline friends. I said there were 2 cat books, and in fact the second one is a slightly different book with a very South African flavour. This is called The Power of the Pride, and as you can see from the glorious picture on the front cover, it's not the small felines we're talking about, it's the king of the cats, the great lion. What this book actually is, it's by Ian Thomas, and what it actually is lessons from a pride of lions and what they can teach you to create powerful business teams. And I think, with a little tongue-in-cheek, that's why I think it qualifies as trash, because it's one of those books that takes inspiration from wherever. We've all seen the Tao of Pooh and Sun Tzu in the boardroom. This is now, you know, the wildlife safari teaching lessons to the business world. It's all about the focus on team goals and how the animals work together. I have to say, much like the previous book, the illustrations are simply phenomenal. I mean, it would be a glorious gift. There's lots of one. This one probably qualifies, for the trashy title, because I think he's getting up to you know what. So it boils it down to quite a simple thing. There's an incentive scheme. If you kill, you eat. If you don't, you starve. And it focuses on the core elements that apply to the pride of lions in the natural habitat, that also should apply to teamwork in the business environment. Things like trust, confidence, respect for the team, pride, a flat structure, strict meritocracy, no passengers, intense training. It's all there. and the fact that the team, in this case the Pride of Lions, is stronger than the sum of its parts. It even goes as far as to talk about image and how that's important. The image of the alpha male lion is an important part of the reputation of the lions and their pride and their success going forward. So a bit of a left field selection, but that's another attempt to provide a not so cozy cat book. It's as close as I can get. Those were my first two books. The third book and last book for this week, Cozy Trash, is a bit of a stretch. I started in this compendium novel. I've got these lovely old 1980s, I think they were released, Octopus Heinemann, where they bind together 4 or 5 novels by each great literary author. And I'm referencing, of course, Lady Chatterley's Lover, which you can see on the bottom of this compendium. And I think everybody sort of knows the basic deal with Lady Chatterley's Lover. It was published in 1928 in Florence and in Paris because they couldn't publish it in England. And in fact, it was banned in the UK, in the USA, in Canada, Australia, India, and Japan until around about the 1960s, when there was an obscenity trial, which Penguin Books actually won and in terms of the Obscene Publication Act. And of course, the publicity arising from that trial immediately resulted in sales of 3 million copies of the book. So it wasn't all downhill for Penguin Books. And despite the hype around the book and the fact that Lawrence closes the novel with a dick joke, this is not considered trash. This is, in fact, a literary classic. So why am I talking about it in Garb August? Well, I think I need to introduce another character into the story, one Terence Allen Milligan, born in India in 1918 during the era of the British Raj. Better known to his friends as Spike Milligan, he was best known for the comedy series that he established called The Goon Show with Harry Seacombe and Peter Sellers. He was cited as a primary comedic influence on the Monty Python comedy team. He was well known for his zany, chaotic, left-field sense of humor. When he was asked what he wanted written on his headstone, he said it should bear the words, "I told you I was ill." And in fact, he wrote several books, one of which is a children's Treasury of Milligan, which I have here somewhere. Yes, this is the Children's Treasury of Milligan, and I will read you just a silly selection. This is a poem he calls Crocodile, but it's really about British politicians of the era. It reads, "Crocker, crocker, crocodile, with a politician's smile, showing all your massive teeth, just like Mr. Edward Heath. I bet my life if you could catch her, you would eat up Margaret Thatcher. Perhaps you'd eat out the other menace, her husband, Dennis. For that Neil Kinnock would agree to offer you the OBE." So, continued silliness in the Children's Treasury of Milligan. You're probably wondering, what the heck is this all about and where am I going? Let me close the loop. The loop is closed by this book, which when at first glance looks like a copy of Lady Chatterley's Lover. But bear in mind, it's actually Lady Chatterley's Lover according to Spike Milligan. Spike Milligan had a very successful series where he retold classic stories, things like Robin Hood, Frankenstein, Treasure Island, Black Beauty, and even the Bible. And of course, Lady Chatterley. And this is the book that I have actually chosen for Garb August, because it's a trashy novel about a novel that was originally considered trashy, written by a very zany person. And again, Steve Donahue made the point that the best trashy novels are when the author's in on the joke. That's certainly true in the case of Spike Milligan. Spike Milligan's humor, if you don't know it, is really quite dense and furious and fast and intense. I'll read you a small section just so that you can get an idea of what we're talking about. I'm sure you all know, Lady Chatterley's Lover. Clifford is the husband who's been wounded in the war, rather sensitively wounded. Constance is the wife who is struggling with the fact that her husband is no longer able to perform his duties. And Paddy is one of the dalliances that she has had in order to address that particular problem. Okay, the passage goes as follows. Clifford, in high emotion, spun his wheelchair round and fell out. Using block and tackle, they restored him to his wheelchair. He spoke. Love between a man and woman is a great thing. Constance's heart beat as she recalled Paddy's great thing. Silence fell. Fortunately, it landed outside. The men smoked while Constance steamed. She had been at so many of these evenings. The men talk, but they didn't seem to get anywhere, not even Lewisham. None of them spoke well of her Paddy. They called him by terrible names: mongrel of Aravista, uneducated bounder, Charlton Athletic, 22 Gabriel Street, the Kaiser, Spotted Dick and Custard. Constance thought of Paddy and wondered what he was doing. He was doing Madge Gibson in the doorway of 17 Peabody Buildings. So you get an idea. It's intense, it comes at 100 miles an hour, and you need to be very alert to understand the nature of this humour. And I suppose one either loves it or one doesn't. But there it is. That's my third book for the week, Spike Milligan's version of Lady Chatterley's Lover. It was a great, amusing read, and I would recommend it to anybody, along with the others in the series that I've mentioned before, because you either like Spike Milligan's humour or you don't, and if you do, there's lots to choose from. In terms of this week's bingo card, the 2 Cosy Cat books will earn me a mark, obviously, in the Cosy Cat column, and another point for middle grade trash. And Lady Chatterley's Lover, according to Spike Milligan, will tick off novelization tie-in and a novel by a celeb. So those are my 3 books for week 3 of Garb August. That, I think, is nearly it for the week, apart from the fact that I'm making headway in this somewhat questionable novel, but we'll talk about this one by the time I've finished it next week. So thank you very much, BookTube. I hope you have as much fun this week as I had, and I hope you keep having fun as we trundle our way through the strange world of Garb August, and I'll see you in a week's time. Thank you very much. Bye-bye now.